my name is Christy Tench, and I'm here today with Vicki Houston, and we are going to do some canning today. So you guys probably know, back in the day, this is how people they fed their families, and so every spring, right, they would plant a garden, and then it was time to harvest it and then put it up. And my grandma, and I'm sure her grandma, and my mom and her sisters, they all did this. So it was like, okay, I seen it happen, but I never really got to experience it. So I'm super excited to be here with Vicki, and she's going to show us the process. So how you doing?
Okay.
Good. I'm super excited.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to show somebody new about canning. First of all, I want to say that we really make this a big family production. It's an event at our house. We have, my mom comes, my brother and his wife comes, friends come,
wow.
And so we have a social event when we're doing our canning. So today we're going to get started by the beans, showing you the beans, and there are dozens and dozens of different varieties, but all of these can be canned in a pressure canner.
Okay.
So you just take your beans like this, and you're going to break the ends off, and there will be a string on the beans, and you'll want to pull that string off. There are some varieties that do not have strings, and some of these don't have much of a string.
Okay.
And then you just snap it into a bite size. You can also can them whole.
Oh, okay.
Whichever way your family prefers.
Right.
So once I get them broke, I still have other people that are still breaking beans. But once I get what I think is a canner full, I'll take them to the sink.
Okay.
I'll wash them 2 or 3 times, and then I drain them off, and I'm ready to pack my jars.
All right.
So I just take a handful of beans and I put it in my jar, and what I'm wanting to do is get these packed as tight as I can.
Okay.
So some people take their fingers and push them down. I don't like to do that because it kind of bruises the beans.
Okay.
But I just take a dish towel on the table, and I just tap it very lightly, and that'll settle those beans down pretty tight.
Okay.
Once I get my jar packed, it'll pack up to the top. Then I put in a half a teaspoon or a teaspoon. It's a half a teaspoon for a pint.
Okay.
It's a teaspoon for a quart.
Okay.
I put that in on top, and then I'm putting.
And this is
canning salt.
canning salt.
It's
Okay.
preserving canning salt. There is, if you use just plain iodized salt, the Morton salt, they'll have fillers in it.
Oh.
So you want to be sure you use pure salt.
And salt.
And I didn't mention that your jars should be hot. So what I do is I put mine in the dishwasher and just run a hot rinse on them.
Okay.
And then I take them out of the dishwasher because they're hot. So everything you're doing is kind of hot.
Okay.
I'll even rinse my beans in hot water just to
Okay.
kind of get them acclimated.
Okay.
I put my salt in. I fill my jar up to within a half inch of the top of the jar.
Okay.
I take my cloth
hot water?
with hot water.
Okay.
Take my cloth, wipe the edge of the jar really, really good to get any water off.
Okay.
And while I'm doing that, I've got this pot sitting on the stove with the lids just simmering because you want them hot.
Okay.
They do have a magnet that you can pick these up with. I use my tongs, and then I just pick them up and put them on the jar,
Okay.
put the ring on, and it tightens just finger tight.
Okay.
But this jar's full. We're going to pretend like this jar's full.
Right. Okay.
Okay, in your canner, there are different varieties of canner, different styles.
Okay.
This one you'll see has this type of jiggler on it. That does not come off, that stays on there.
Okay.
This one was my grandmother's canner.
Aw.
It's a 1951
Wow.
Presto canner.
It's got some history.
It really does. And you'll see that it's got a gauge on it.
Oh, right. This is the kind that my granny used to
And it
use.
also has the jiggler though. This one is a little bit different inside, and you can see how it's been used. It's got this type of a lift.
Right.
I haven't used this. This hasn't been used in several years, but with a new seal, it could be used. This one is a larger model just because it handles more jars than the others. This one you can stack pints in, and you want to use these lifts in the bottom of your jar to keep your jars right up off the bottom.
Okay.
And then you'll put a layer of pints in there and put this on it, and put another layer of pints.
So
Or-
you don't have to have a dowel or anything. I mean, like a metal dowel. You just put the pint jars in there and then put that on top and.
And or you can just can one layer.
Oh.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
But and you can put your quarts in that as well. We can in most of the quarts all the time.
Okay.
This one is just for quarts, or
Okay.
you can can pints. You just can't stack them.
Okay.
Can't layer them.
Okay.
So then you're going to take your jars and you're going to put them in here. You put 2 quarts of water in here, which will give you about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of water
Okay.
in the bottom of your jar. You're going to put these in here like this.
Okay.
And load your, and then you just put your lid on. And they kind of they'll sit and then they twist.
Oh, okay.
If it gets too hot,
Yeah.
if you've got, you leave your stove on high and you've walked off, the baby's crying,
Yeah.
if it gets too hot and this is blasting, 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 it's going to be going just like this. But if you stepped out of the house, you may not hear that. This will pop out and it'll let that steam off.
Oh, I see.
Now, don't be afraid, but I mean, I have heard of them exploding.
Yeah.
But the chances of that are so
Slim,
rare.
maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, when you're doing this, you want to be paying attention.
Right,
You don't want
yeah.
to be just off and
Doing something else.
yeah,
I
and
mean,
if the babies are asleep, that's a good time to do it.
Yes,
You know?
right.
So anyway, but you set your pot on the stove.
Okay.
We use a gas burner outside to can ours, but just because we're all outside.
Right, yeah.
And turn it on, and you'll build your steam up. And when this starts rattling, you know your steam's building up.
Okay.
When this will rattle about 3 times a minute, 3 or 4 times a minute, then you're going to start timing it.
Oh,
And you want your beans to cook for 25 minutes.
okay.
This one over here with the gauge, it'll say 10 pounds.
Uh-huh.
When it comes up to 10 pounds, that's when you want to maintain 10 pounds, so you turn your heat down
Okay.
and let it maintain that heat.
Okay.
This
And
one,
then, so I would maintain 10 pounds
10
of pressure
pounds.
for 25 minutes.
For 25
right?
minutes.
But this one, I would just time the rattles.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
This one is a little bit different as well. This one, you can let that steam start coming out, and then this has got numbers on it,
Oh,
like
okay.
5, 10, 15. You're going to use 10 pounds of pressure, and you want to use a mitt, but you'll just drop that on there,
Oh.
and that'll kind of hold the steam or regulate the steam,
Yes.
and it'll rattle.
Oh. Like when it's up to pressure, it'll rattle?
Yes.
Okay.
When it's up, well, your pressure will start coming out, or
Okay.
your steam will start coming out, and then you drop that on, and it'll hold it for just a minute, and then when it builds it back up, it'll start rattling.
Okay. And then 25 minutes.
25 minutes.
So they're all 25 minutes.
All of them are 25
Just depending
minutes.
on what kind of apparatus that you have as well.
Right.
Okay.
You want to be sure that your jars don't have to be sterilized, but you
Okay.
want to be sure they're clean, and the pressure canner will actually sterilize your jars for you.
Oh, okay.
You also want to be sure that you check the top of your jars for any nicks,
Okay.
any cracks.
Yeah.
You won't want to use anything like that.
Okay.
There's all different kinds of jars. Ball makes jars, Kerr makes jars. Here's an old Atlas jar that I don't know how old they, and any of them that are mason jars are fine.
Okay.
Same thing with your flats and your lids. Any of them should be fine to use. I prefer Ball or Kerr. They're the most popular. Here are some books on
Okay.
canning and preserving, and these are really old books, but you can buy them.
Yeah.
But I've noticed
I love these.
on the internet recently that they're really high. I mean, if you
Oh.
can find somebody that doesn't can anymore, saying, hey, do you have your own canning?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, there are 2 different size lids and rings in your jars. If you'll take the lid off that pot, there you go. And then this is what you call a wide mouth.
Okay.
So these, as you'll see, are different sizes.
Oh, yeah.
And both of them have this gasket on.
Okay.
And you'll want to heat these.
Okay.
It kind of softens that gasket, but you don't want to boil it.
Oh, okay.
Just heat it up really good in a little bit of water on your stove, and then that's when you use your tongs or magnet
Okay.
and take it out, and I just set it on there, and then you can use your
Adjust it. Okay. So that seal kind of just helps it to work its magic in here.
That's what actually hooks onto the jar. That rubber seal does. And I was telling James, I don't know how. I mean, it's a science.
Yeah.
I don't know how it all works. You know, all I know is that when you do what you do, if it's right, you can lift that jar by that seal, that flat, and it won't come off.
Come off, right?
And you'll want to be sure that once they are done, you take them. I take mine out, and I because it'll pop.
Okay.
And I'll show you what it sounds like. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
See how it pops? Okay. And then I take my rings off. I do not store my jars with my rings on, just because they tend to rust more.
Yes.
I take my rings off after I've checked my seal. I take my jars to the sink and I wash them in hot soapy water.
Okay.
Just because I like to get all that off and get them really good and clean. And I let them set out for at least 12 to 24 hours and make sure that the seal maintains.
Okay.
And then I'll put them in storage, and you want to store them in a dark, cool place. It doesn't have to be, really cool, but you don't want it really hot either.
Okay.
And you have the option of putting salt or not putting salt. You don't have to do the salt if you don't want to. A lot of people struggle with different health issues that may not want the salt.
Okay.
So, but when I open mine up, I take it and I drain my jar, drain that liquid off. I put water on them again and rinse them and drain that off. And then I put them in my pot and put a little water on them and cook them.
Okay.
So.
Wow. Well, it's such a great process, and I feel like that it's kind of went away.
It has until this year with all this pandemic. I think people are really had an awakening.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a good thing, because I think more people are making gardens. More people are going to have their own fresh food.
Yeah.
And they're going to get to experience. I think this, unfortunately, has caused a lot of closeness to build up. And I think, under the circumstances, was unfortunate, but it's going to bring us all closer together.
Well, guys, we want to thank you for watching this video. A couple of things before we close. We just want to say, hey, there is a plethora of knowledge on the internet about how to can. If your granny or aunt or one of the family members has one of these laying around, I would advise you to pick it up and look through it and use it. And also, if you have one of these canners, that you refer to your manual, so that we're using it safely and you get the most benefit out of the equipment that you're using in the right way. If you have any questions, just refer to these lovely books and look online. And again, we thank you for sharing time with us today and learning how to can. And Vicky, I appreciate you teaching
Thanks for having me, Christy.
You're sharing your knowledge and your family history, because that's kind of what it's about. It's just sharing some history. So happy canning. Thanks for watching.
Bye.